Who are the anti-Trump Republicans making waves at the DNC? Their party has been hijacked by a cult, said one, while another drew comparisons between Trump's campaign and communist regimes. Here's how the Republican dissenters are voicing their concerns. On day 2 of the Democratic National Convention, DNC, former White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham stirred the pot by critiquing Donald Trump and disclosing that he belittles his supporters as basement dwellers. But Grisham wasn't alone in her anti-Trump stance at this year's DNC. Navarro, a Republican strategist and former national Hispanic co-chair for John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign, and John Giles, the Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, have also voiced strong criticisms of Trump. While the Republican National Convention, RNC, last month featured no Democratic speakers, this isn't the first instance of Republicans showing up at a DNC. In 2020, John Kasich, the former Republican governor of Ohio, and Colin Powell, former Secretary of State under President George W. Bush, made appearances at the DNC, urging for political unity and questioning Trump's leadership. Here's a look at the anti-Trump Republicans making their voices heard at this year's DNC. I saw him when the cameras were off, Stephanie Grisham. After the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol in protest of the 2020 election results, Grisham was the first Trump staffer to resign. At the DNC, she seized the chance to critique the former president, focusing on his disinterest in his supporters. I saw him when the cameras were off, Grisham recounted. Trump mocks his supporters. He called them basement dwellers during a hospital visit when people were dying in the ICU. He was upset that the cameras weren't on him. He has no empathy, no morals, and no respect for the truth. Grisham also shared a text exchange with former First Lady Melania Trump, which she had initiated to encourage peaceful protests. What you say matters and what you don't say matters. On January 6th, I asked Melania if we could at least tweet that while peaceful protest is a right, there's no place for lawlessness or violence. She replied with one word. No, Grisham said. As bad as Venezuela, Navarro, Nicaraguan-American Navarro, has criticized Trump since 2016, notably after he attacked Judge Gonzalo Curiel over his Mexican heritage, accusing him of bias due to Trump's border wall stance. Navarro deemed Trump's remarks racist and inappropriate, stating, "How dare he question a judge's integrity based on his Mexican descent? This man is just as American as Donald Trump." At the DNC, Navarro condemned Trump's characterization of President Joe Biden as a communist and reflected on her own escape from Nicaragua's communist regime at age 8. They refuse to accept legitimate elections and incite violence to retain power, like Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, Navarro said. They attack the free press, labeling them as the enemy of the people, similar to Ortega in Nicaragua. Navarro and Grisham have announced their plans to vote for Kamala Harris in the upcoming election. Republicans kidnapped by a cult, John Giles. John Giles, Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, called for Republicans to prioritize country over party in his DNC address. A known bipartisan figure, Giles has previously endorsed Democratic candidates, including Mark Kelly in the 2022 Senate election. On Tuesday, Giles expressed his frustration that the Republican Party had been kidnapped by Trump's influence. "I feel more at home here than in today's Republican Party. The grand old party has been taken over by extremists and turned into a cult, the cult of Donald Trump," he said. Giles lamented the loss of the Republican Party he admired, including his hero John McCain, the 2008 presidential nominee. He praised the Biden-Harris administration for its bipartisan efforts, benefiting his state of Arizona. "I'm attending ribbon-cutting events every week because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris reached across the aisle and delivered for my conservative community and many others across the country," he said. He concluded with, "Let's turn the page. Let's prioritize the country. Let's put capable adults in charge where our nation needs them." What did other Republicans have to say? Kyle Sweetser, a former Trump supporter and Republican Voters Against Trump volunteer, criticized the former president at the DNC. "Construction costs were skyrocketing for people like me, and I realized Trump wasn't looking out for us," Sweetser said. "I believe leaders should inspire the best in us, not the worst. That's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris." How has Trump reacted to the DNC so far? Trump has yet to respond formally to the Republican speakers at the DNC on day 2, but shared his thoughts about the convention's first day with the New York Post on Tuesday. He remarked, "It was all about lies. They were spouting falsehoods about me all night. Everything they discussed was misleading. They talked about immigration and inflation, claiming things were the opposite of reality." He added, "It was disinformation and misinformation, which is what they constantly accuse others of.